Meeting order, please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Any discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approval of the agenda for today's meeting, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The agenda is approved. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the March 25th meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion. Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of approval of the minutes from the March 25th meeting, please say aye. Any opposed? Those minutes are approved. This item on the agenda is public comments. There's no one here as usual. Close the floor for public comments. Next item on the agenda is review and discussion of the March 2026 monthly financial reports. We normally do. Let's move through page by page. We noticed that the very first page, a negative fund variance of $18,000 for this month. But as usual, and has been reported throughout the year, we're positive year to date. So 416, that's a pretty big number. Any questions on the first page? All right, second page. Account summary. All right, next item is the operating results. Nothing there that
I've
jumps
got
out.
a comment.
What?
So there's a transfer there of 2284.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked John about that, and he said that is the transfer from reserves into new capital reserve per the change in the government documents that was made between you and one.
Yeah, and I take this the right way. When small, minor, number like that, really, that's I sort of classify that as operations. They're moving things around and so on and so forth. We don't need to get into the weeds on that one. Now, if it was 22,000, then maybe we say let's ask a question. So, but thank you for the explanation. Anything else on the operating results page? Okay. Next item is the net operation by department. Anything sticks out on that page? It's been pretty consistent throughout the fiscal year.
Oh, you know what? I was wrong about that. That was transfer because of home sales. There's another transfer later on
Okay.
in the documents that has to do with the movement of money. And I think that it's important to take note of that movement of money because of the fact that we did change the governing documents, and there's a process by which those transfers are meant to be made.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Noted. Anything on the net operating by department? Again, it's been pretty consistent. I don't see any anomalies unless I'm missing something. Anybody?
Just that aquatics.
Yeah.
Aquatics is kind of jumps out a little bit,
Mhm.
but change warms up.
Yeah, notice their net operating is at $6,500.
Yeah, I wonder if that has to do with the weather.
Well, I got a note here when we get to the aquatics page to basically ask that question. All right, anything else? Okay, next page is the operating summary on the, net revenue and expenses. Got one note here, and I don't, it's not really significant, but it's just interesting. If you look at the year-to-date actuals on our net revenue is 12.5 million, and year-to-date last year was 15.2 million. All right, so is that a sign of anything?
I'm wondering, you know, I saw the same thing. I wonder if that would have anything to do with the food contract?
It could be. Again, nothing that raises a red flag,
Exactly.
but you know, when you do a year-to-year comparison, which I tend to do,
Yeah,
you just wonder, you know, was there, I mean, clearly there's something obviously different about this year's fiscal budget than last year's fiscal budget, but to the tune of $2.7 million worth of difference, you know, I'd go to the operations group and the GM, just say, is there anything we should be concerned about? Sounds like the answer is no, we really don't need to worry about it. But it was just an interesting observation, you know?
well, where is the rent roll from, Taste of Italy? Where's that booked? Where are they booked at? Would that be in the same,
Yeah, the
in
previous.
the same spot?
Yeah, if you, well, no, if you look at the previous page, net
Yeah.
operations by department, that's where you're under food and beverage. To 30K actuals, that's where we're getting the information from Touchability. The previous page, near
Okay.
the bottom. Okay,
Mhm.
all right, anything else on the net revenue? I thought it was interesting that, the other thing was on the expense side. If you look at the actuals, for, the month and then what was budgeted for the month, we're $48,000 under, you know,
Mhm.
expenses. So the question is economies of scale, efficiencies, or did we, you know, defer doing something? But,
Yeah.
you know, they don't really know for sure. But, you know, if you look at, if you look at the, year-to-date actuals and budget on the total expenses, you know, there's that 273 to the good, you know, versus budget.
Okay.
Okay, anything else in the operating summary? All right. This item is racket sports. Anybody? Floor is open. Okay.
See what happens this year.
Yeah, again, it's although I do have a note. If you look at the membership report at the end, we'll save it for the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, nothing really there. They actually did a little bit better than budget, from a net operating perspective.
I think they're starting to push out advertising.
Yeah, I saw a couple.
That was, yeah, if you remember, we got the answer to that question. So see how that
But
goes.
I mean, I'm actually seeing it now.
Yeah, hopefully that will, you know, kind of generate some interest and, you know, increase the membership. All right, anything else on racket sports? All right, next item is aquatics.
Yeah, here's where those daily fees went down. 36.8 to variance. And that's where I think the facilities are closed some due to weather, and I wonder if that, and then I think just the people staying home.
Yeah, I mean, you know, yeah, one could argue this time of year, people tend to, you know, there's probably fewer people going, you know, using the facility.
And the weather was pretty crappy.
Yeah, but if you look there, you know, on the expense side, you know, 3,600 under budget, you know, in the actual. So, you know, obviously that must account for some closures, you know, some days where there was no operating environment there. So, you know, again, what's my note here? Oh, yeah, here you go. If you look under utilities, yeah, if you look at the, you know, the year-to-date actual is 164 against the budget of 136. Clearly, effects of the water and sewer. I mean, that's obviously got to be what it is, you know. And
Power. Electricity because of the. Oh,
yeah, true.
It wasn't really that cold last month,
there was some
but
early.
the swim classes were down a little bit last month. From the, you know, from what they thought it would be this month. Not much,
Yeah.
I mean, a little bit, 3,000, but, that could be due to the closure, different things. The water is a big issue right now until we actually see the, change possibly in the EDU structure from the commission.
Yeah, well, we have to take a wait and see, and, you know, based on the information I've read, it was OC Dispatch or something like that, that we're not talking about a significant amount of money to the point where, you know, the sensationalist will say, we're saving money, and then the realist look at it and go, yeah, $12 a month. Okay, both are correct, right? All right, anything else on aquatics? All right, next one is combined golf ops. Anybody see anything that stands out there?
Yeah, that's where there was a reduction in greens fees. And it was 44.9 below variance, and, you know, some amount less than last year, and, I mean, against budget, and somewhat lower than last year, and I think there were many closures and delays with the golf course.
Yeah, that was definitely definitely weather related. Yeah, but what's interesting, you know, and I can't give you the weather report from a previous year, but if you look at the total revenues from year to date last year at 1.79 and the actuals for this year at 1.88. Okay,
Bingo,
so I mean,
$100,000.
yeah, you know, if you compare year to year, you look at it and go, well, it's, you know, not too bad. I mean,
Where in the heck that money come from? I mean, it's amazing.
you know,
I mean, the turnaround is incredible.
Well, the course is a lot busier.
Yeah.
That's what I see, and, I golf in the winter, and this year there were a lot more people
Yeah,
out there
so do I.
golfing than I usually see.
I hit that course 3 days a week, so yeah,
There are a lot more people doing that. You see a lot more people with cart covers now in the winter.
but all in all, they're, you know, that's been, again, pretty consistent throughout the entire fiscal year.
Yeah, we also have more members, I believe, but, you know, we can look at the membership numbers.
Hold that thought, because there's something that I noticed on the membership report on the last page of the report that I kind of want to toss out for discussion.
Was it the 14 guys that are still lifetime members? I'm amazed that there are that many left.
Are there really that many left?
Yeah, it's reported 14 guys, lifetime members.
Wow. Yeah, wish I could have gotten in on that deal when they had it, but, you know. Okay, anything else on combined golf ops? Okay. Next item is beach parking. You know, that's pretty,
Did
benign,
we renegotiate the contract? Do you know?
not to my knowledge.
Yeah, okay.
I think there was you mean, talk about contract
So
with secrets?
It's just up from last year. I was just wondering if they renegotiated. Again, you and I deal on actuals.
If I remember correctly, and glad I think you were still on the board as well, the lease with secrets, there was a 3% increase
Okay,
year to year.
okay.
Okay, so, and I believe it was a 7-year deal.
Yeah,
And if I remember correctly, it was 7 years because I wouldn't have to pay tax. Wouldn't have to declare there's a certain financial transaction that had it been beyond 7 years would have had to have taken place. So they do it for 7 years and it's, you know, it's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, that's the way it is. So yeah, it was a 3% increase.
it's an escalator each year?
Each year.
3% each year?
Yeah, 3% each year.
That's a pretty good escalator.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We bargained hard.
Yeah.
Well, it's our property. I mean, just like the lease across the street in the Secrets parking lot. That's our property. I mean, you know, we get lease revenue on that as well. But yeah, beach park is a little pretty benign. Anything else on that?
So it was below budget expectations. But again, I think that's timing as much as anything. You know, people not down here buying those memberships for those parking passes.
Yeah, and you know,
Although I think when we look at the parking pass sales, they're actually up this year from last year.
I'm surprised. All right, beach park. All right, next item is marinas. pretty, there's nothing going on in there as far as revenues, so, you know, we really don't have to worry about that. But, and then, you know, again, just, and I guess we'll talk about this in April as well, because that'll be the end of the fiscal year, but they're, you know, as far as revenue goes, they're 22,000 ahead of where they were, you know, where they were, from the budget. And if you look at, the year-to-date, you know, year-to-date revenue, last year was 412, and this year is, you know, 458. So, you know, due to an increase in the price of fuel, you know, or are we pumping more fuel there? Be interesting to know. Again, an operations issue, but, you know, we're trending in the right direction, so it's no big deal. Oh, yeah. No, that's okay. There's nothing there. The expenses, you know, on the marinas was up, but, you know, not significant. I guess they're doing a little, I guess they're prepping for, the upcoming season. That'd be my guess.
Utilities is the worst. Expenses.
Yeah. 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 And other costs up, that was almost $6,000, but, you know,
Yeah.
kind of guys. Okay, next item is the reserve summary.
Yeah, this is where that other contributions,
Yeah, the
450,
transfer.
470, that's that transfer.
Yeah. Yeah, the capital additions of 259 were affected by that as well. Yeah, you know, balance as of March 31st is 6.8, so, you know, I should know this, and I'm telling myself, I thought last GM report, what was the target number where we wanted the reserves to end up at the end of the fiscal year? I thought it was around 5.7 or 6.2, somewhere in that neighborhood. I go back and look, but nevertheless, we're spot on right now, unless there's a big expense in the month of April, you know, whether it's a capital expense or a, you know, replacement reserve expense. You know, we should be very good on that number going, you know, cleaning up the end of the fiscal year. Any other questions on the reserves, Jack?
I'm just trying, sometimes the bills go out early. People pay early. They pay right away. As soon as they get their bill,
Yeah,
they pay it.
I'm one
Well,
of them.
yeah, I mean, it's, they
Yeah,
don't wait
usually
till
right.
May 1st or May 30th or,
You know, and again,
so I don't know if that impacts, you know, a CAC flow.
I think it's got, obviously, it has to be reported, and I think I asked this question last year, and shame on me for forgetting, because I know John answered it. Yeah, when you get that revenue in, okay, is it realized in the fiscal year, because, you know, it happens in April, let's say. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
You know, March and April, all right, so you're getting all this cash inflow, you know, is it deferred revenue until the fiscal year starts? In other words, it's held in a deferred account until May 1, and then it's realized, or is it realized and then they make a, you know, journal adjustment,
Gotcha.
you know,
So
on May 1
yeah.
to
So,
to balance it out. So
Yeah.
I don't know which one is done, and quite frankly, not gonna be a big difference, but it's just, I'm curious, because I guess as long as I don't think there's any legal issue there, it's the sort of the philosophy and the style of the people managing that budget, you know, would they say, oh, no, we'd rather keep it in a deferred account, realize it when the fiscal year starts, or others may say, no, we'll just realize it now and we'll make the journal entry accordingly.
well, it seems to me, I seem to recall in the old days, we were basically cash accounting system. You know,
Yeah.
revenues in
Yeah.
and expenses out.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but when you close the books for the fiscal year, that's where I'm looking. It's like, okay, you know, you say, okay, this is the end of the fiscal year, you send it to the auditors, what are they looking at, you know? And,
Mhm.
and how do they, you know, so I'd have to go back to the audit. I should know that, but again, not tremendous. But anyway, back to the reserves, you know, it's 6.88 right now, you know, unless there's some, you know, unplanned or, you know, big expense, you know, either capital or reserve. We're really in good shape there.
So Doug, do you want me to put that question in as to when the assessment revenues are realized? Just so the committee knows.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, and yeah, because I usually send the questions afterwards, and it's more along the lines of, you know, it's more educational, you know, than anything else. I mean, that's really what we as a committee want to know, what's the preference of the GM and his finance team to handle the incoming cash. Just, you know, so you pass that along to, you know, future committee members and so on and so forth. So you have that. So yeah, I'll let, no, that's a good point. I'll ask that. Okay. The dictation here. Okay, we're good. All right, so not anything else on reserves? All right, next item is the capital summary. This thing's again been pretty consistent throughout the year.
Yeah, I had a comment
Please.
about that. So
Okay.
that under the clubhouse, that patio gazebo has been put on hold. And so the question was, you know, what's that 53
Yeah, 53.9.
9 spend? And that is the design expense. So the construction itself is not gonna happen. Yeah, but that's the design expense.
Yeah.
And then
53,000.
the other questions, excuse me,
53,000 for design.
yeah. So, and then under the yacht club, that I have a question about that kitchen equipment. You know, and that is a replacement of stuff that was in poor repair or not up to the standard of the new food and beverage operator. And then the other issues there, the outdoor kitchen, new capital. That again is, you know, the expense that's been realized on that. And I asked about the bar countertops. Those are replacements. We
Yeah.
paid for the
Yeah.
replacement of the countertop in the bar that was renovated.
Yeah, that's no problem there. The only, again, more of a question and a better understanding, what you looked at under food and beverage, okay? Under capital, replacement, we spent $235,000, but yet nothing was budgeted, okay? So, you know, if you look at the budget, it was zero. So, but at the end of the day, you know, as things come up, that's why discretionary spending is a tool, you know, for, you know, because if you get an opportunity to come up, just because it wasn't in the budget, if you're managing the budget, sometimes it's fluid. And, you know, as long as you're within certain confines of, not only our governing documents, but, you know, making a, you know, qualified and, you know, intelligent financial decision, and that money's well spent.
Well, and it makes sense when we were transitioning from what, you know, the budget was written before the transition
Sure.
between the two.
That's another good point.
contracts
Yeah,
occurred.
you know, again, I say the same thing every year. You know, we're creating a budget, you know, 18 months ahead of time. If you can predict what's gonna happen in 18 months, I'm gonna give you money to buy me a lottery ticket, and we'll split the winnings 50-50, okay? So you know, people, I mean, I say that for, you know, the membership, you know, tries to understand, whoa, the budget is 230, yeah, but you know what? You know, you're managing to the entire budget, okay? You don't worry about the detail. If our budget was 14 million and, you know, and we ended up with 13.9 million, we're good. What happened in between there, you know, is based on, you know, kind of, you know, situationalized things that happen, opportunities that come up, unexpected expenses that, you know, something fails and you had to spend money on it. So, you know, I tend to say, you know, just look at the big number. If there's a problem with the big number, then you can go and, you know, do that deep dive and try to figure out, you know, what happened.
The other thing I wanted to bring up is that John was pretty clear in the monthly meetings that we have at the clubhouse about the design costs. I mean, he was very explicit.
Yeah.
The design costs did not include the construction.
Yeah.
So, I attend the meetings, but I, you know, they do tape them. So I highly recommend, if you can't make the meetings, monthly meetings, to actually go back and look at his piece of it, because he gives a pretty detailed report.
Yeah. I attend the meetings. I recall him saying, yeah, the, you know, design costs are that you're gonna incur design costs no matter what.
I'm sure there was
And if-
3 design costs.
Yeah, and if you're going to keep the asset, okay, obviously you're gonna bear the cost of the design. you know, and construction. So,
And construction, because the building is ours, that
Yeah.
becomes an asset to us.
Yeah.
In all cases.
Yep. Anything else on the capital summary? All right, move on to the balance sheet. So, nothing, any comments on that one? I saw nothing,
One good comment,
go ahead.
the allowance for bad debts was down from February.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and if you look, that's a good point. Quite frankly, I didn't notice that. But year to date, you know, it's what, like 70,000 better than last year. Yeah. We wrote off a lot more bad debt last year than we're doing this year. Mm-hmm. No, more people are paying their assessments, you know. So when I was treasurer, we kept track of, you know, how much, you know, I had a chart every month that, you know, this is what we expected to collect, and here's what we've collected to date. You know, we got to the point we were at 98.2%, I think, and we were actually pretty good. Quite frankly, if I remember when I was on the board, one of the things that came out with CAI, the Community Associate place, said most HOAs are lucky if they get past 92% of their assessments, because there's always somebody that, you know, for whatever reason. And we were at 98%, which was considered very, very good. So we're fortunate that that's the case.
So we've really stayed up at that level
Yeah,
the whole time that I've been engaged.
yeah, we really haven't had to go after too many people. I mean, again, another one of those, you know, I wonder, based on the level of effort and expense for the attorneys to go out and do the collections and so forth, and, you know, what's come back, because when, and I'm sure Bruce and his team is the same way, I just don't know the numbers, you know. In other words, it'd be interesting to see how much, you know, have we collected, you know, based on, you know, going out and saying, excuse me, you know, person, hey, you still owe this, can we work out on a payment plan, blah, blah, blah. And because we had numbers from the previous group, because I think we'd asked for them, and so they showed up. Maybe we should ask to see if it's worthwhile. Again, gathering information to help, you know, try to make important and, you know, intellectually sound decisions on recommendations for the budget next year. You know, so again, not super important, but interesting. Anything else on the balance sheet? All right, this item is the cash and investments. That is pretty self-explanatory. My only question, and we can ask this too, is that of the CDRs with Bank of Ocean City, do they automatically renew them, or do they go through some sort of process to say, you know, that wasn't, you know, that 6 month wasn't a good enough return on investment, maybe we look at something else, or they just kind of, you know, keep it going?
My
because it's
personal
easy?
experience, you get a letter, and the letter says your CD or CDR, what have you, is coming due.
Mhm.
Do you want to roll it over? Do you want to take some cash out? Whatever, you have options.
Yeah.
And if you don't respond, they roll it over, and they don't tell you the rate until the day they roll it over.
Yeah.
So rates are doing this, right? So
Yeah, that was-
could be a little bit lower. That's what I say. You know, I've always been curious as to, you know, why we never looked at 2 and 5 year treasuries, US treasuries. I mean, the yield on those suckers are up in the 4s
Yeah.
today. And they're not gonna be up in the 4s much longer. You know, they're gonna come down. They are gonna come down.
That's a comment that Slobodan had when he was on the board, if you remember.
About,
He was always talking about getting treasury bonds because they were, you know, they were higher. And in general, they're more fluctuate.
Yeah.
But the other recollection I have from when I was on the board is discussion of the process by which Steve went through to look at all of these, various, vehicles by which, and that came up, a lot having to do with slope and on inquiries.
Yeah.
But he does go through a process of monitoring
Well,
these and balancing out where these things should be.
yeah, you recall a couple of years ago, we decided to, several years ago, go with diversify among two banks, not just
Mhm.
one. And then if you recall, we were with Union Bank for a while. And so, and based on Steve's process and, I'm assuming John's analysis, we got better rates with Bank of Ocean City. So we moved from Union Bank, to Bank of Ocean City for
Right.
CDRs and short-term cash. So.
But
yeah,
that's part of an active process that he engages in. as part of
The risk with treasuries, it's a yield risk.
mhm.
If you buy a 4% 5-year bond, you're gonna get 4% for 5 years. Regardless, however, if rates come down, the dynamic is the yield on that 5% goes up. So, they're highly liquid. I mean, you can trade them in and out.
Yeah, it goes back to the comment I made earlier about kind of the philosophy, style, and risk aversion of, in this case, the people managing the budget, John and the finance team. It's their style. Let them do. Again, going back to one of the other things I said, just ask the question, okay? And they'll say,
I'm sure those two
yeah,
guys.
yeah, and they know, and they say, here's why we do it this way. Done. Okay, at that point, because again, I go back to one of our, I think, responsibilities is just ask the question, and they've never not answered it. So, it's always good to get that information. Again, it goes back to, as you want to try to keep the committee going, you get that information, you sustain that information, you capture it, make sure that, everybody understands that's the way they do things here. So it's okay.
One more
That's a
comment.
good point, really.
The cash sweep balance this month is about $1 million more than it was in February.
Yeah,
That probably means that,
means the assessment dollars that came in.
and they're about to invest it somewhere else in another CD because the treasury bills came due at the end of March,
Mhm.
$990. And that's what they do, put it in the cash sweep pending further investment.
Yeah, and we'll just, that's the question is, it shows up clear, it's cash, because we have to, declare it's cash, but what do you want to do with it? Is it in a deferred account, or is it something that we actually add to the existing, account and then journal entry it later, so.
With the cash investment page, I just have a statement to make as far as John's background. And, a lot of places, and we've seen it here, that we've had project managers or managers, they have never had the background in finance that John brings to the table. So between his management skills and his background with the stock market and the finance, this is why you're seeing that we're not locked in some cases. He's got an eye on this every single day.
Yeah, sure.
So we can't, I don't think a lot of people actually have looked into his background to see how knowledgeable he is in the finance world.
Well, and
they
no
just-
argument there.
Yeah, and they just make statements about, the money and, the spending and all. So he's more than a project manager.
Well,
Yeah, he's
I believe there's a lot of people, I call it TME, which is theory of minimum effort. They won't look at the entire thing. They'll
Yeah.
just kind of something on the surface and they'll make a comment. It's
Yeah.
like, no, you didn't research it all the way through to understand why it's that way.
yeah,
Because it's easy with TME to just go, oh, why is that? Well, once you look at it a little bit closer, you might get your answer.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is the first time, at least in recent history, we've had a GM with that kind of background. And, he's been, the organization under his leadership has been wildly successful at managing our finances. And I think a couple of months ago, you had brought up the issue of succession planning, right? And I think that's an important thing for us to hold in mind as we go forward, that is, just having the the training and management of this type of enterprise is not really what's going to yield the kind of results that an organization of this size gets.
And we've gotten too large for just a GM kind
Right.
of that.
So a couple of things. So I kept the minutes from, well, it's on my bulletin board at home. So in May, I was looking, let's wait till the fiscal year closes out. You know, they're very, very busy. And then at some point in May, and if it has to wait till June, that's fine. But we want to advise the board to start thinking about succession planning. You know, what you can do while you've got this body of knowledge that John Viola has. You know, that how do we sustain it to make sure that we can continue to sustain the organization over a longer period of time? You know, and so that, again, I think that's one of our responsibilities to say, you need to start thinking about that. And, you know, if you need our help with anything, I'd be glad to help, but that's on the board. You know,
Yeah, well, I think
I'm not deferring, but. it's-
Yeah, and John has made very clear, I think, for years, that that's been on his radar.
Yeah, and I think.
You know, he's been developing his staff, succession planning all the way up and down.
Yeah.
He's been planning and putting it in motion. It's not just on his radar. He's
Right.
actually doing this every single day
Yeah.
to make sure that if something were to happen to him, you know, that his people can manage. But even with that, his background, you know, just has to be, you know, his background in finance is cannot be replaced with just a regular
What
GM.
does that say?
Yeah.
There was a message that came up on the screen and went away, but
That's just what I.
Yeah.
That's the other thing that he's made clear is the manner in which he's developing his people to make sure that those key
Yeah.
skills are gonna be in place.
yeah, I'm well aware of that. That's why while there's this discussion, this sort of sense of making sure that this intellectual capital, you know, is maintained, we got to make sure we stay coordinated and really, you know, advise the board strongly to take advantage of that while it's there. So, yeah, we'll talk about that in, unless somebody wants to do it differently, we'll talk about that in our May meeting. Okay, anything else on the cash investments? All right, the last page on the report is the membership report. And my note here, look down at the next to last line where it says in the column 331.25 sales, there were 26, and 331.28. I'm sorry, 331.26, there are 30. So it looks like we got more members. And if you look at it, there's the 4 more members, 2 more in family and 2 more in individual.
You're talking about racket sports.
Racket sports at the very bottom.
Yeah.
If you look at total racket sports, it's highlighted in green. The difference between this year and last year at this year to date.
Mhm.
So, you know, that's it. So, it's just a notation that, you know, maybe all is not lost and maybe it's, you know, the changes in the racket sports fees, the building itself, you know, are starting to, you know, take hold and people that were reacting to say, no, are probably starting to go, yeah, let's start thinking about that. So, and Sherry, to your point with the added kind of input from the advertisement, you know, hopefully that's going to turn
Well,
around.
we'll see how that works out, but you know, we're still down at like, you
Yeah,
know,
we're still down, but you know.
$140,000, so that's gonna take a few more members to make up.
Yeah, true.
At the 300 or 500.
True. The point being is that there are some, you know, increases, however minor there may be, and, you know, again, from an operational perspective, they should be looking at that and making sure they do
When
whatever they need to do.
when do they usually get their big lump of new members? Like,
I don't know. I don't
Well,
know.
yeah,
I
I
don't
was
know
just
if there's
talking
any
to
real-
John about that this week, and he said that, he and Ruth Ann look at that, on a regular basis. I can't remember if he said, I know if they meet monthly to discuss that, but I think it's on
Yeah.
a shorter term basis as well.
Mm-hmm.
And this, report that you have there, you know, the projection, that last column, that projection, that's what they look at very closely is, you know, what's the goal based on their budgeting and where are they, you know, where does it stand on a month by month basis?
Yeah, and that's clearly an operation, so it's,
Yeah.
you know, nothing really we need to worry about, just
Yeah.
we're looking at,
But it's interesting to see how many more, parking passes have been, sold
Mhm.
to date from last year, and swim memberships also.
I joined both of them.
There you go. We can thank Sherry for
They
that.
changed this report.
Didn't join golf yet, I guess.
No, I just paid my assessment.
One at a time, please.
Sorry.
Good, Randy?
These are actually now monthly sales, which is good. Before it was showing, previous month it was showing cumulative.
Good point. All right, anything else on the membership report? All right. That brings us to supplemental P and Ls, if you pull that up. On the rec and parks.
Did that supplemental document come from you? I don't remember seeing that.
Steve Phillips always sent to me and I forwarded to everybody else.
Okay.
Hold on. Did I not forward it?
I don't remember getting one.
All right, well, guess what?
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell you what. How about,
That it, I didn't bring it. Is that- You got the supplemental?
No, I don't.
No, I didn't.
I guess Wayne did.
No, I got one, maybe I did. Wait a minute.
hold on. Send everybody right now. Andy. Frank.
So it was at the, supplemental BNF schedules?
Yeah.
From 3/20?
Just doesn't have a date on it, but
No, this one says February.
You just sent the new
yeah,
one.
I just sent a new one. Did you get it yet?
I was looking
It
for,
just came.
Okay, well, see if it's there.
I see March, and you just sent it, yeah. I didn't have it before either.
Yeah, apologies. I thought I'd sent it.
There it is, yeah.
There we go. Been busy, got out of town guests coming in. Okay, under rec and parks, again, nothing really jumped out. Things are pretty much in line. If you look at the revenues year to date, it's up to almost $59,000, which, you know, whatever they're doing operationally, obviously is generating a little more revenue than before. And their net operating is $40K better than it was budgeted for, so that's a good thing. Give me a minute to take a look at that real quick. So,
On the download of it.
Yeah.
We got the
I'm looking at any questions on, rec and parks while we do the last little bit of review there? Okay, and then, yeah, I was just pointing out the difference there.
Yeah, that's.
That's-
Yeah,
Yeah, not bad at all.
no,
And then, last is golf maintenance. If you look at their, it's all on the expense side, there's no, there's no revenue for golf maintenance. But they are, $6,300, better than budget. And, year to date, they're almost 10K better than budget, so.
So what was that $6,100 of miscellaneous revenue last year? You have any idea?
Where are you looking at?
Under
Oh.
revenue?
Last year, yeah, I don't know, because it's reported. I wonder if I don't know. I don't know. I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to that because there's,
I
again,
wonder if it was sale of equipment or something. Yeah.
could have been.
maintenance.
I don't know if they sell that maintenance equipment or just dispose of it.
Well, on the last.
Some
meeting,
of them they do.
John
actually
had
spell.
stated
They
that
sell.
they do sell
Yeah.
some.
Uh,
That's probably what it is.
Or credit for something, would that show up differently?
I don't know.
That wouldn't show, credit wouldn't show as revenue.
Yeah, I'm not sure how that would,
Um,
and what kind of
I don't know
credit,
how they would book it, but yeah,
what kind of credit would you be?
I don't think it's immaterial at this
Like
point.
back when They didn't do as much as they thought they were gonna do.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
it's,
back
it's sort of a adjunct question, because if
Yeah.
you look at, the budget and everything is zero for
Right,
revenue. So, I mean,
Yeah,
we're working with
it's
this year, it's like
just
zero for revenue, so we're not worried about, the more as the expenses have been controlled, so that's a good thing. All right, well, unless anybody has any other questions, next item on the agenda is general comments around the room. Randy?
Nothing here.
Nothing here. Sherry? Frank?
I'm good. You hear me?
Glad?
nope,
I'm
Jack?
okay.
Thank you.
Bob? Yeah, I'm good. Okay, if that's it. I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Is there a second? All in favor? Meeting is adjourned. Thank